Ling Feng stood amid the blood-soaked corpses in Shujia town, his fury turning to a cold, methodical hunt as villagers whispered that the true killer wore his own uniform and was accompanied by a gigantic cat. The testimony pointed to Zhang Yi, who had escaped the shelter through a hidden passage. Determined, Ling Feng ordered his remaining squad to trace the fresh snowmobile tracks left by Zhang Yi, while Shen Hong urged a reckless chase. Ling Feng, aware of the staggering loss of over 50 elite soldiers, cautioned restraint and deduced that Zhang Yi would not expose a weakness without inside help, suspecting Liang Yu's betrayal. He sent the surviving troops across the river back to Shujia town for interrogation, and Liang Yu, panicked, concealed the phone she used to contact Zhang Yi inside a dead tree. Meanwhile, Zhang Yi raced back up the back mountain passage on a snowmobile, flinging open the heavy door to usher Fatty Su and the mutant cat Hua Hua into the shelter. Fatty Su warned that the obvious tire tracks would betray them, but Zhang Yi revealed the trail was a deliberate lure to trap pursuers. Together they wrestled with a complex alloy lock and slipped into the dim interior, sealing the door behind them. Inside, Zhang Yi demanded Fatty Su's absolute obedience and forced him to renounce his lingering loyalty to Su Lily, provoking a fierce emotional outburst from the ice-type superhuman. Ling Feng, now convinced Zhang Yi was responsible for the massacre of his brothers and the villagers, vowed vengeance and began searching for the secret exit that would lead him to his elusive foe. The Special Forces team and the surviving villagers of Shujia town returned to a scene of carnage. The air was thick with the wails of grief as people mourned relatives slaughtered in the brutal attack. On the other side, Shurdeong and the soldiers seethed with a humiliated rage, their forces decimated without ever laying a hand on their target, Zhang Yi. The tension was palpable as Ling Feng approached Liang Yu, his gaze icy. He demanded to inspect her phone, his suspicion that an informant had enabled Zhang Yi's rear assault hanging heavily in the frozen air. Liang Yu, maintaining a martial artist's composure, coldly handed over her personal device with a disdainful smile, her hand resting on the hilt of her Tang sword. Her nonchalant act planted a seed of doubt in Ling Feng, but before he could press further, Shurdeong's observation shifted the focus. Fatty Su was missing. The disappearance of the ice-type superhuman recruit was immediately suspicious. Ling Feng summoned Su Dongtang, whose heart was breaking over the dead villagers he now knew were killed by Ling Feng's own men. When confronted about his grandson, Su Dongtang, trembling with a mix of sorrow and fear, could only plead ignorance. The truth soon surfaced through Su Lily, who admitted she knew Fatty Su had left town. The pieces fell into place for Ling Feng. The traitor was Su Chunlei. Enraged, he shattered a snow house with a punch, vowing to kill the defector. Liang Yu, internally relieved to have a scapegoat, maintained her cold, aloof stance. Ling Feng, though convinced of Fatty Su's betrayal, was hamstrung by his depleted manpower. He needed a different kind of resource. Turning his attention back to the cowed villagers, Ling Feng demanded proof of their loyalty. He herded the entire population into the square like livestock and arbitrarily selected 100 individuals. He announced they would accompany him on an important task, promising commendation, while the rest were to remain in the town, a natural prison in the apocalyptic cold. With his entire Special Forces team in tow, wary of being picked off alone, and the 100 villagers in train, he set out following the winding snowmobile track Zhang Yi had left as a decoy. The journey on foot for the villagers was a grueling 2.5-hour trek through the snow, ending before the large, disguised tombstone that served as the shelter's hidden entrance. After confirming the location, Ling Feng's caution, born of repeated deceptions by Zhang Yi, took a ruthless turn. He ordered the exhausted and hungry villagers to enter the narrow, metal-lined passage first, using them as human scouts. The Special Forces remained outside, monitoring the advance through cameras and communication devices given to the villagers. The procession moved cautiously into the illuminated, tomb-like corridor, their fear a tangible presence transmitted through the feeds. The silence was oppressive, stretching as they crept forward. Then, precisely as they reached the midpoint, mechanical rumbles echoed. Heavy metal walls slammed down from above, sealing the group at both ends, trapping them in a perfect kill box. Panicked screams erupted from the villagers, a chorus of terror that was abruptly, horrifically cut short. On the monitors, Ling Feng and his team watched as jets of fire, like a raging dragon, erupted from the walls, flooding the sealed passage. The villagers' final, agonized shrieks were the last sounds before the video feeds dissolved into static. In the grim silence outside the tomb entrance, Ling Feng gritted his teeth, a cold acknowledgement of his adversary's thoroughness. Zhang Yi, what a ruthless bastard. He really did have a backup plan, he spat. The sacrifice of the 100 villagers was a stark lesson. Without using them as disposable probes, that torrent of flame would have consumed his own elite soldiers. The horrific screams from within the sealed passage finally faded, leaving only the grim reality of the trap's effectiveness. Liang Yu felt a transient pity for the sacrificed villagers, but the relentless brutality of the world since leaving Tianqing Academy had long since cauterized such feelings, leaving her heart cold and adaptive. Shi Daong voiced the obvious tactical impasse, asking Ling Feng what they should do since the path was clearly impassable. Ling Feng's response was cold and destructive. If they couldn't get through, they would blow the place up, trapping Zhang Yi inside as well. They had brought the remaining explosives for precisely such contingencies. Liang Yu, however, interjected with a note of caution, questioning whether explosives might simply destroy the passage and potentially hand Zhang Yi more weapons. This gave Ling Feng and Shi Daong pause, as the risk was real. It was then that Zhang Xuerong stepped forward with a calm, superior air. She declared the solution was simple, just block the passage so he couldn't get out. With a smile playing on her lips, she bent and placed her right hand on the passage entrance. A deep blue light enveloped her hand, and the swirling snowflakes in the air seemed to pause before being guided in a surge into the tunnel. A thick layer of ice rapidly crystallized over the silver-gray metal walls. As the ice penetrated deeper, the intense residual heat from the flamethrowers melted it, creating a torrent of water. Soon, the sound of rushing water echoed from within the tunnel. Academician Wu couldn't contain his admiration, clapping and praising the strategy. He explained that the downward-sloping passage, once filled with water that would refreeze, would become an impassable ice block, sealing the door shut. Even attempts to melt it with high-temperature combustion would be futile against such a mass. Zhang Xuerong accepted the praise with a slight, proud smile, calling it a trivial trick. Ling Feng, however, found no joy in this. Blocking the passage was not enough. He needed to shatter Zhang Yi's shell and eliminate him completely to avenge his fallen men and complete the base's mission. With no immediate solutions, the group could only return to Shujia Town to rest and regroup. Back in Shujia Town, a new wave of grief crashed over the villagers as they realized the 100 men taken had not returned. When they asked Ling Feng, he calmly stated they had all been killed by Zhang Yi. The town erupted in wailing and lamentation, countless families mourning fresh losses. Ling Feng, having shed all pretense, then demanded the villagers quickly prepare and bring food for his team, showing no concern for their sorrow. As he expected, despite their hatred and tears, the powerless villagers had no choice but to obey. That evening, the families held simple, hurried funerals, burning the bodies of their loved ones with white cloth from their homes, a stark contrast to the scene unfolding in the shelter across the river. Within the secure, luxurious confines of Zhang Yi's shelter, a lively welcome banquet was in full swing for Fatty Su. Perhaps because they had been isolated for so long, everyone was outwardly welcoming in their actions. Yang Xia and Zhou Ke prepared a sumptuous dinner, and Zhang Yi brought out several bottles of his treasured wines. Yang Xinxin and Lu Karen, having met him before, were familiar. Upon entering the shelter, Fatty Su was rendered speechless, awestruck by the palace-like luxury and abundance in the midst of the apocalyptic world. Seeing Zhang Yi surrounded by 4 stunningly beautiful women only deepened his admiration, cementing his view of Zhang Yi as an extraordinary person. Yet, faced with these beauties, Fatty Su became extremely reserved and halting in speech, a stark contrast to his earlier excitement over Su Lily. Having just had his heart broken, he was now disillusioned, firmly believing that the prettier a woman was, the more likely she was to lie. He decided it was better to focus on anime, where two-dimensional girls would never deceive him. During the meal, Zhang Yi clinked glasses with Fatty Su, formally welcoming him as a comrade and stating that from now on, they would face all enemies together, expecting Fatty Su to fight with all his might. He recognized the fat man's useful abilities and his intention to develop him into a valuable asset. Fatty Su chuckled sheepishly, acknowledging there was no such thing as a free lunch. It was then that Fatty Su voiced the question on his mind, asking Zhang Yi if he had any other informants in Shujia Town besides him. Zhang Yi, smiling, asked why he thought that. Fatty Su explained his deduction, knowing Zhang Yi's cautious personality, he wouldn't have left the shelter without absolute certainty about the situation in Shujia Town. He then revealed he had guessed it was teacher Liang from Tianqing Academy. He recalled seeing her when they went to rescue people, and later when she arrived in Shujia Town with the Shishan base team. She had acted as if she didn't recognize him and never revealed his connection to Zhang Yi, which signaled her lack of true loyalty to the base. Zhang Yi looked at him with considerable admiration, confirming the guess and toasting his cleverness. Everyone drank happily, though more for the excuse to enjoy themselves than solely for welcoming Fatty Su. The red wine, deceptively mild, soon took effect. Fatty Su, drinking heartily, began to stagger, his face flushed. He laughed until he suddenly slumped onto the table and burst into tears, wailing about love fading and being treated like a fool. Yang Xinxin casually commented on how lame it was. Zhang Yi simply smiled and instructed Yang Xia to prepare a bedroom for the passed-out Fatty Su on the basement level, a temporary arrangement as Zhang Yi preferred not to have other men living in his home long-term. Once the problems with Shishan base were resolved, he planned for Fatty Su to move into one of the nearby intact villas. Left to his thoughts, Zhang Yi swirled his wine glass, pondering Ling Feng's next move. He had met force with force, dealing a significant blow to the special forces and likely halting their tunnel-digging plan. A mix of nervousness and anticipation filled him regarding their next strategy, that human curiosity and fear of the unknown. He glanced at young Xinxin, who sat elegantly on the sofa in her black Lolita-style suit, sipping red wine with timeless grace. Zhang Yi expressed a wish that Liang Yu could have brought the chip back sooner. Yang Xinxin, however, appeared confident, reminding Zhang Yi not to forget what Liang Yu had done before, asserting that if it were just about physical strength, it wouldn't have been enough for her to be a bodyguard in that place.